This is chapter 2, part 3. So we're just picking up where we left off in part 2. We're just going through a set of journal entries and then posting those entries into our T accounts. And then we'll finish up the rest of the chapter from there. So we left off on number 8. We collected $2,000, and again, these are the transactions that we did in conjunction with our worksheet from chapter 1. So we're just putting them in journal entry format and then posting those into our T accounts, which represent our general ledger accounts. So number 8, we collected $2,000 from customers. So these are accounts receivable that we are now collecting. So we're receiving cash. Our cash balance goes up. Increase in an asset is a debit. So cash is a debit cash for $2,000. And since we're collecting our accounts receivable or the amount that's due to us goes down. Accounts receivables are an asset. A decrease in accounts receivable, therefore, would be a credit. So credit accounts receivable for $2,000. And so let's see how that looks. I'll just slide this back down. So here what we've done is we've collected $2,000. So that's a debit to cash of accounts receivable, and that's item 8. And our accounts receivable balance was $4,000, but now it's decreased by the $2,000 that we've collected, and that, of course, is the credit of $2,000 to accounts receivable. So now we can see that the balance is a net $2,000 that is still owed to us, a net debit of $2,000. Okay, so let's finish up here. We paid a dividend, a cash dividend of $3,000. Dividends, of course, reduce shareholders' equity, and therefore a reduction of shareholders' equity is a debit. So we're going to debit dividends. And because we're paying cash, cash is decreasing. A decrease in an asset is a credit. So credit cash, $3,000. So again, debit always comes first, and then we're indenting the credit. So we're indenting to show that it's a credit, and then of course the debit amount goes in the debit column. Normally there would be a 2-column spreadsheet here. We'd have debits here and credits here. I just didn't do that because I'm doing kind of a free-flowing whiteboard here, but obviously the $3,000 for dividends goes in the debit, and the $3,000 for cash goes in the credit. Okay? So let's go ahead and we'll post that into our general ledger accounts. So cash is going to decrease by $3,000. And that's from number 9. And dividends, of course, is a debit of $3,000. All right, so basically what we would do now is what we would want to, at the end of the period, we would want to find the ending balances for each account. And so what we're going to do is we're going to add up the debits, add up the credits, and subtract the two and find out what the net debit would be. In this case, for cash, we'd have debits of $38,000 and credits of $5,500. So we'd have a net debit. So our balance would be $32,500, and again, that's a debit. That's whatever side is the largest, that's where the balance would be. And for assets, the normal balance would be a debit. For liabilities, the normal balance would be a credit. And then obviously for common stock, the balance is always going to be a credit. For dividends, it's always going to be a debit. For revenues, it's always going to be a credit. And for expenses, it's always going to be a debit, okay, like we talked about before. All right, so accounts receivable. We're going to add up the debits, add up the credits, subtract the two. Here we just have one of each, so our balance is going to be a net debit of $2,000. So 4 came in, 2 went out, and so we're left with a balance of $2,000. Supplies, our balance is $2,000. We don't have to do anything there. Accounts payable. We've got $2,000 credit, $1,000 debit, so we have a net $1,000 credit. So that's our balance at the end of the period. So again, instead of using pluses and minuses, we're using debits and credits, and we end up with the same balances in the accounts, but we're using debits and credits instead of pluses and minuses. So there are no more negative numbers in terms of transaction entries. It's simply debits or credits depending on the type of account to increase it or decrease it. Okay? So common stock, our balance is $30,000. We just have one entry. Dividends, our balance is $3,000 debit. Just have one entry. Revenues, here we have 2 credits. We're going to add those up. So we have a total revenue balance for the period of $10,000. And our 2 expenses are $1,000 for salary expense, $500 for utilities expense. Those are the balances as well. So those are the balances for all the accounts. We would take those balances and we would use those to prepare our financial statements. The only other thing that's mentioned in this chapter is what's called a trial balance. And I'll put that here on this, just over here. I'll list that. A trial balance. And you can see that in the book. But basically, the reason for the trial balance is what happens is we take all the debits from our general ledger, in other words, all of our T accounts. We would take all the debits and add those up. And we would take all the credits, credit balances from our T accounts, and we would add those up. And we would want to make sure that those are equal. If they are equal, then we would know that our general ledger, which includes all of our accounts, are in balance. The general ledger is at least in balance. The debits equal credits. Our journal entries over on the left, it's pretty easy to see that each one of those is in balance. It's pretty easy to see that each one of those, the numbers are the same. It's pretty easy to tell those are in balance. But once they get posted over into the ledger, for instance, cash, you've got so many different numbers and so many different accounts, it would be very difficult to just look at these T accounts and say for certainty that yes, all of the balances, the debits balances are all equal to the credit balances. It'd be very difficult to visually see that. So basically, this is done automatically now by the computer. The computer will just go in, make sure that all the debit balances equal all the credit balances. So this balance plus this balance plus this balance plus the dividends plus the expenses, those are all the debit balances. Those are equal to the credit balances. That would be equal to this balance in accounts payable, common stock, and revenues. So those should be the same. Each one of them, it looks like it's about $41,000. They should each be $41,000 in this example. That should be the balance. That should be the total of all the debit balances, and that should be the total of all the credit balances. So that's just to make sure we're in balance. That's pretty much the chapter. Again, the idea here is really this idea of the rule of debits and credits, and going back up to that framework up here. And this is just the key framework that you're going to want to make sure that you have, okay? So assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity. Left side is debit, right side is credit. And again, the key is down here. The rule of debit and credit, okay? So it doesn't matter what you think you know about debits and credits. An increase in an asset is a debit, therefore a decrease in an asset is a credit. And an increase in a liability or an equity account is a credit. And of course, a decrease in a liability or an equity account would be a debit. Okay, so that is the rule. And to simplify things, dividends and expenses are always going to be debits because they decrease stockholders' equity. And common stock and revenues are always going to be credits because they increase stockholders' equity. So really, the only ones you need to be focused on are the changes in assets and liabilities. Do those accounts go up or down? And then that will tell you whether they're debits or credits. So that's it for this chapter 2.